I'm coming out. Welcome to today's Rowdy.com Big Six. We call it the Big Six because today's show is sponsored by Gumout Regain. Boink! Complete fuel system cleaner. Cleans 6 of 6 key engine parts, unlike Lucas Oil, which only cleans 3. Bassmasters, Buck Fever, Buzz Cutler. We're talking NASCAR. We've got some Wednesday questions.
Some Wednesday Gumout-style questions. The first one comes courtesy of our good buddy Wes Brown, who tweeted this question. Wes wants to know, okay, look, there's clearly some guys who are currently driving that are going to make the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, Tony Stewart.
Yep.
What current drivers have the potential in your mind to also make the Hall of Fame and maybe even to supplant somebody like Tony Stewart to get in before he does?
Guys that I think have the potential to crack off a couple championships and maybe get in before Tony Stewart, although I doubt it, but I'll just throw these guys out. They are Carl Edwards, they are Denny Hamlin, they are Kyle Busch, maybe Matt Kenseth, maybe Kurt Busch.
Now, that's interesting because Matt Kenseth and Kurt Busch already have championships.
They already have championships, but they've not been really contenders for the title since then, since their championships. The guys that strike me talent-wise as potential Hall of Famers, I mean, Kyle Busch is the guy that everybody talks about. A lot of people give him multiple championships because the talent level is just so obvious. But remember, he doesn't have one yet. In fact, he hasn't been that close to one yet. Carl Edwards has been close to one and certainly has the talent to win multiple races. He won 9 in 2008. But his team is kind of behind right now. It's been a while since he's won. I mean, every driver goes through slumps, but there's a long way to go yet. Denny Hamlin really just at the beginning, kind of like Kyle, at the beginning and showing for the first time this year that he can be a championship contender. So those are the 3 guys that I would think about. For a guy to be in the Hall of Fame, it feels like you got to be the man for at least a couple of years.
You got to crack off
you
four
be the man, like
4 and 5 victories in a year and just be dominating. And I don't see Kurt Busch or Matt Kenseth right now doing that.
All right, let's move on. You know, there's a lot of play in the media about can Chip Ganassi win the Triple Crown, the Daytona 500, the Indy 500, and the Brickyard all in the same season. Seems sort of like an arbitrary grouping of races to me. Is this a big deal or just a media invention?
It's a big deal.
It is.
It's a big deal.
It's an arbitrary grouping as well, though.
It's not arbitrary. I mean, these are the biggest races of the year.
The Brickyard you would put up there with the Daytona 500 and the Indy 500?
The races are the Daytona 500 and the Indy 500.
Mm-hmm.
But the Brickyard 400 at Indianapolis is the second biggest race in stock car racing. Everyone seems to agree to that. Now, if it were up to me, would I make it so? Probably not.
I don't agree.
Okay. Well, you're not anybody anyway. So this is a big deal, but I think the interesting thing is, you know, to win these 3 races, and by the way, he almost won the 600 too, you know, what kind of season does he end up having in NASCAR?
Well, here's what Chip himself has to say about that very question.
I think, you know, certainly, Paul, at the big events, our season's been pretty good, you know. I mean, obviously with the wins at Daytona and Indianapolis, we have the big events covered. It seems to be those damn little events in between, or I don't want to say little events, everybody will get mad at me, but you know, it's those races, you know, in between that make up the series that we're both individual series that we seem a bit challenged by here from time to time. But
I think it's an especially big deal for Chip Ganassi because of his experience at Indy and the fact that he loves that track and it's the birthplace of racing in America.
Yeah, I think it's one of those pretty cool things. But if I am Chip Ganassi, what I'm looking for more than the Triple Crown is getting one of my guys in the chase. And unfortunately, it's probably not going to happen this year. I still think that team is on the right trajectory.
All right, well, let's move on to issue number 3. This question comes via Facebook. We do have a Facebook presence.
Yes, we do.
It's
Facebook.com/RowdyRacing.
And Bill Early posed the question as to whether or not Scott Speed would benefit from spending time in the Nationwide Series. But in talking about that, we sort of broadened the discussion. If you are a young guy coming into Cup and you don't turn heads immediately, a la Denny Hamlin or Casey Kane, is it possible, Scott Speed, David Rudiman, A.J. Allmendinger, to develop over time into a superstar?
Possible, but not likely, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I got to say it's possible because I'm hoping that David Rudiman actually pulls it off. He's got 2 victories now. He's older. He's getting it done. He seems to be fast. But I think it's a great question because we have not seen anybody really do it.
I've always been a believer that, like, you don't want to judge guys too soon, that the equipment has a big role to play in whether or not a guy can show his talent. But when you step back and you look at it, at the end of the day, for a guy to become a top-tier driver, and by that I mean a guy that the story is when he doesn't make the chase, not that he does. So like Tony Stewart, a big story would be him not making the chase. Him making the chase would be what we all expected. That's a pretty good definition of a top-tier driver. And generally, these days, when you have a top-tier driver, when that person first comes in, whether it be Kevin Harvick, whether it be Denny Hamlin, whether it be Kasey Kahne, you see those flashes. Maybe not every race, but you see those flashes of brilliance where you're like, wow, this guy, it's like an eye-opening moment. And I think in most cases, that's what you get, even if a guy is coming from a different racing background and so forth and so on. There has been a driver who came in, had a slow start to his career, and ended up being what you call a superstar, and that's Dale Jarrett. So it can be done. All right, that's been your Rowdy.com Big Six for today. Thank you to Gumout Regain Complete Fuel System Cleaner for helping us, sponsoring today's show. Remember, 6 of 6 engine parts. And if you want to see our Gumout commercials,
Yes.
Buck, you should be happy to show these. The website address is right there.
Right down below there.
Yep. And we'll see you next time on the Rowdy.com Big Three.
Rowdy.com. Say it like it is.
Say what like it is?
Rowdy.com.